Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk about how you can maximise the benefits of your sensory area. So you're starting to create your sensory spaces, which is great. And we'll start off with chatting about what is the point of a sensory area. At Learning Space, we like to think of it as a time for me room, a time to relax, to switch off, or stimulate their senses to help their body feel more balanced. When they're feeling like this, they're able to process and take in information better, making a positive impact on their day, their reactions, and their ability to take in information.
By giving individuals the skills of self-regulation and those around them the knowledge and empathy to help support and make changes to their environment, makes a positive impact on their daily lives.
It can benefit everyone as they learn the skills of self-care and the importance of taking time to themselves. This is something we often take for granted and learn as an adult, so it's important that we instill this at an early age. By giving a wide range of sensory opportunities, this enables the individual to explore and meet their sensory needs through self-regulation.
These environments really would help someone who is maybe feeling anxious, they're maybe going through bereavement, maybe bullying, or simply, where they fell out with a friend, and that then looking at someone who has sensory processing differences, alongside such as maybe a condition of autism, ADHD, etc. These would really benefit the person and their daily lives.
It's so important to create a failure-free environment. If a child feels that they're going to do it a wrong way or it has to be in a certain order, they can often feel quite anxious, and this takes away from what a sensory room is all about. Another important point is that it should be child-led, that the child gets to choose what they're going to do next, because what they may be seeking one day, they might be avoiding the next.
Yeah.
And if you're going to let the child choose what they do, it's really important to empower them by modelling good behaviour and showing how you can use different pieces of equipment, and also showing them that it all doesn't have to be on at the same time, that they can turn it off. So if they are finding the bubbles frustrating, that they know that they can create this environment to suit them.
So from that, looking at the 7 main senses, so touch, taste, sound, smell and sight, there's quite a lot more of those senses, but we're going to focus on the main sort of 7 that we take into account. And looking then at your touch, taste, sound, smell, sight, but also proprioceptive, which is for your body awareness. We look at vestibular, which is your sense of balance. And then we want to take from that some important notes that maybe run into where a child is an avoider and is a seeker. So taking from those 7 senses and looking at that and saying, where does that child fit into those 7 senses by avoiding? So hypersensitivity is likely where the child will avoid. So say if we take that, for example, of sight. So when they go into a sensory room, they may experience the difficulty of it's too bright, it's causing them to feel anxious, stressed. Those sorts of things can start to cause that. If we look at a child then in hyposensitivity, where they want more of a comforting light, they're a seeker and they want to feel that light more and more. So they may go for a flashing light, they may go for light that's going to really stimulate them very well. And also then taking into account, the next point would be that the child on one day may be feeling that they want to avoid something, but the next day it could be totally different. So take that example of a child walking down a corridor, that one day they want to walk down that corridor and they feel happy to do it, but the next day they may want to avoid that. So it's important that we recognise the difference that can be for that individual, because often in that we could force them into something that they don't want to do, and that can cause us much difficulty.
And a lot of the time that's because their sensory system is filling off. So it is really important, but it's also really important to be observing the child, to be able to see, maybe they need to only be on the bubble tube maybe for 10 minutes, or actually that child really benefits for being on a long time, and really learning through it and making notes and building up a sensory profile and communicating with the parents and the teachers, so that you can really help support the child and their sensory needs.
Yeah, and an example from myself can be where I could leave the house this morning. We've discussed what dinner's going to be tonight. My wife could simply say it's a curry. We're leaving home and I'm then on my return journey to the house. An ambulance or a fire brigade could simply pass me. It could trigger my senses where I go into avoidance. I then walk in through the door, smell the curry, and before you know it, I'm eating something entirely different for my dinner.
And is that because the textures feel different then?
It does. It makes everything offset, to be honest with you, because a lot of my avoidance then goes on to maybe my 7 senses. So that really does start to trigger different senses, which then it could be the smell, the texture, as you say, could be, you know, just not what I want to have that night.
Yeah. So now that we've gained that greater understanding that a child's sensory preferences can change, we can show greater empathy and understanding towards them.
Absolutely. So a great way I love to enter a sensory room is by just going in and focusing on your breathing. It really helps the child reduce their anxiousness. It really starts to get rid of those stresses. And particularly the child that has sensory processing, it starts to bring down that hypersensitivity. So things that we can look at here are certain products that within a room are really beneficial to start to get that child in a calmed feeling. So if we focus on the bubble tube, so by looking at the bubble tube and it's how it would work, simply by switching the bubbles on, breathe out, and switching the bubble tube off, breathe in. That is a great visual that you can show that child and help them understand just maybe how their body is feeling and how it may be working. Another great one is the expandable.
Yeah,
love it.
You love
Absolutely colourful. Full of everything that a child can benefit from visually. So simply what happens is, as the child breathes in, the ball expands, and as the child breathes out, the ball goes into compact. You can also replicate this maybe on their lungs or something like that and just say, you know, inside your body, this is exactly what's happening. So breathing in and out and breathing in and out is fantastic. There's another great app out there, so you can use on different devices, such as if you had a tablet in the room or maybe you have a projector, whatever that may be. Chill Panda. Absolutely brilliant. It is square breathing. It comes up as a visual and it basically states, hold your breath, breathe out, breathe in. Great way for it to show them visually how to do that. Now, we have other great apps and great things, but that will be shown in another video. There's ones like for sound, for sight. There's so many different apps that are really beneficial, but that will be shown in a different video down the line.
Yeah, something to look forward to. I love what you're saying there. It's absolutely right. It's getting into that nice relaxed state.
Yeah.
So you picture like being on a beanbag, that's giving deep pressure. You're looking up with a projection. You've got, for example, the laser twilight where you're looking at a satellite that's going past. The child's lying down and looking at that. It's such a great way for them to get into that place. Another one was at the cloud or water projector, which it feels like you're underneath the water. And it's great as well to be modelling the behaviour as well. So if you picture like a carer or a classroom assistant that's in that room, you know, also doing that, and it's just modelling that good behaviour. So I think that's a great way of using the room. So and creating that nice relaxed atmosphere. So we've got the beanbag, we've got our projectors. We'll now look at maybe the bubble tube. So you've got the bubble tube that can be really relaxing, looking at the various colours.
Yeah.
You know, tracking the bubbles. But also within some of the bubble tubes, you've got different remote controls. Some enable the lights to go faster or calmer. Some enable you to turn the bubbles off and on.
Yeah.
So just playing about and having that control of the bubbles, it can be great. You can also add some fish and balls as well, which is another great visual.
Yeah.
Then if you do want to bring in learning into the room, and obviously number one in a room is to be creating a calm atmosphere. But then you can bring in learning after that. But remember, the number one is getting getting a child into that calm place. So we've got the bubble tube. We can bring in activities such as learning colours, or if you're reading a story, that they press a colour at a certain word. So there's lots of different ways that you can bring in learning. And there's books like Dr. Seuss, the Book of Colour, or the Colour Monster. I've seen that being used whenever the child is expressing what emotion they're feeling, and they just select the colour. So there's lots of different ways of bringing in ways of using the bubble tube, either for relaxing or for learning. Another thing that I love is the fibre optic tails. So they can just flow through the colours, which is nice and relaxing. If you've got a remote control, you can stop it at the colours. But even just having the weight of the fibre optic tails on the child, that can just give that deep pressure that they might be really seeking. Or they could just be playing with the fibre optic tails.
Yeah.
And counting them, or that manipulative skills that they'll be learning as well. So fibre optic tails is a great safe way to get close to the lights. Another thing, just when we're saying about deep pressure, with the bubble tube, like leaning against the bubble tube, feeling the vibrations as well, all that can create a lovely, relaxed feeling and atmosphere.
Yeah, without a doubt. And some other things that I like to go on to is like the peanut ball. Peanut ball is a great product for helping in both ways. So if we think about the senses again a wee bit and about hypo and hypersensitivity. So if we think about like a peanut ball for deep pressure is a great way to help somebody relax and just get that body awareness again and get back to a good place. Also then we look at somebody maybe that's went into hyposensitivity. The peanut ball then you can get ones with little spikes on them. I'm sure you've seen like wee little nodules all over them. And basically that is a great way for giving stimulation to help bring that person back up to a more regulated place. So the benefits you can start to see that a product does really well. Liquid tiles are another good one. On the sock soles, onto that firm base, and really thinking about, moving those liquids about in the floor. You could even have your UV light on, giving it a bit extra
it really
glow.
does pop, doesn't it?
And it makes them like almost 3D. So the child is really encouraged to get onto them there. So
yeah, you say you like using them with them bare feet as well.
Bare feet because of the deep pressure.
Yeah.
Because they're not really realizing that that's what they're getting, but at the same time, it's bringing that hypersensitivity down. And again, what we're focusing on is taking those distractions away from how maybe they are feeling. And sometimes it's not a good place when they are feeling quite overpowered with how the senses affect them.
Overwhelmed.
So there's many products there, many things that we can really start to recommend and stuff, but there is also real good natural ways. And I often say sometime about laying on a hard floor, leaning up against a hard wall.
Yeah.
We even go as far as, things like that, even stamping their feet.
Yeah.
We love so much natural ways.
Yeah, you love the sensory pathway as well that we've brought in, so that they're able to within a corridor, go down a corridor around the school, that they're able to get that maybe deep pressure against the wall, and just enabling them to have an outlet to.
And it brings the whole school in on that, because we feel as if that's what starts to benefit people. You're introducing everybody together, even though it's a sensory pathway, everybody's going to get an experience. So what it's going to do is going to regulate the whole school. So you can start to see the benefits of somebody jumping or hopping or skipping up a corridor. Even teachers and all get involved. That's lovely. It's just the best thing that really helps a child. And you will see a more settlement within the classrooms in a day.
Yeah, it takes away the stigma sometimes as well of a sensory room being for particular people. It then becomes a place for everyone, a place, for everyone to experience and to, again, we were saying earlier, that learn that skill to help self-regulate and get in that better place.
And that's what we're all about.
Yeah, and it's important for everybody to learn those skills. So another one I know that you love is the carousel. So the carousel is whenever the child sits on and they can twizz around. So they're getting so much from that. So they might be getting like deep pressure. They might be getting the visual from as they're spinning around, they're seeing that their whole world spinning around them,
Absolutely.
Also vestibular, you get the sense of balance. So that's another great one. And sometimes a child might just need 5 minutes or something on that to get them to feel in that.
And a great way often I find is to let them go and seek that. It's a great way for them to discover parts of themselves that they've maybe not even discovered before. But it's a great way for them to start to learn maybe a way of regulating certain senses. Yeah. And that's a great way to help their whole nervous system. That's what it's all
about. This is the reason why you're given so many different sensory opportunities, so that they can find ways to get themselves in that better place. And know another one that we've introduced now, the hop mattress. Children are loving that, where they're just getting an opportunity to be able to bounce. To bounce and just to get that deep pressure, in a fun way.
Yeah.
So that's
and in the right environment, that's the way it is, because they are often in an environment where it is challenging, it is difficult, because there is quite a lot of people about. And by having these sorts of things in place, it really starts to regulate and gives a happier child.
So it's great to having sensory rooms and sensory equipment, but it's important as well that they're learning these skills. They know it's not just about they're learning to self-regulate or calm in a sensory room. It's like they're also learning that what they can bring into the classroom to get into that place, what they could be doing whenever they're at home. So it's all these skills that will make the bigger long-term impact as well. And the more we introduce and discuss and trial and error and observe, the more that we can keep constantly trying to make a positive difference.
And we have seen the differences starting to happen within some of the reports and the feedback that we get from certain schools.
Yeah.
I mean, they are very much, can't believe how well things
Yeah,
are starting
or
to
the child's
settle.
coming home now with less meltdowns, and obviously we
Exactly.
can't promise it's not going to cause
No.
meltdowns, but it does help because you're giving them more sensory experiences. You're giving them outlets to be able to get themselves in that better place, so that they can take on the day better, you know. And you've given them those sensory outlets. If you're not giving them those sensory outlets, they potentially are going home, and that's where they are. They're building it up all day because they haven't had those opportunities. So it's fantastic that schools are creating, and they understand the importance of giving sensory experiences throughout the day, and giving them that outlets. Another one that I love is the bouncy band range. So you've got things like the wiggle seat. So the ones we can do is in like a butterfly or a ghost shape and things like that. So it makes it a little bit cooler. Obviously you get the circle ones as well. So it just gives them that movement. So they're getting movement, they're getting deep pressure, a bit tactile.
Yeah.
You know, so something like that for a child who needs that. You know, if they're not given that opportunity, they could be wanting to get up and running around the classroom, and then obviously that is going to have a knock-on effect as well to their behaviour and their concentration. So bouncy bands is great. Also the bands that go in the chairs where you're able to put your feet on and just give it a wiggle,
Yep.
you know, or there is wiggle feet. So there's just a wide range of things you can do, and obviously everybody knows about fidgets.
And a very sturdy product they are
Yeah.
too. So I mean, you're not like something like you would have like an expanding ribbon type thing that goes around the bottom of the chair.
We used to always recommend the
had them.
resistance bands,
Exactly.
and they are good. But if you do want something sturdier, you're absolutely right.
Brilliant.
So they come in two different types. There's a new type now that's universal, so it velcros round the leg. So if you think you've got a leg that's going to be too big, these do work. So they're fantastic. So as you can see, there is a wide range of resources that can really benefit children, and hopefully we have given you some ideas of how to use them, and that you can see maybe why they might be helping a child. So I hope that you will enjoy using the resources and that they benefit children, and this is really the reason why we set up. I was a teacher, my sister was a social worker, and we set up Learning Space. We have a little amazing sister who has Soto syndrome, and trying to find stuff to suit her was always a struggle, and I always felt we're reinventing the wheel. So that's the whole point of Learning Space, is about sharing of knowledge, trying to share good practice. And obviously we don't know everything, but it's all about just learning and trying to help where we can with ideas. And that's why in our new website that's going to be launched soon, there's going to be a knowledge sharing hub, and that's really where, for example, those apps that we've got, it'll be a place for other people to upload apps that you found useful as well, or different ways that you're using the bubble tubes. It's all about sharing that good practice. We go out to schools all the time. We're seeing amazing things that they're doing in the sensory rooms or in the school. And for me now, it's about trying to pass that information on so that we could be making that bigger impact.
Definitely, and about getting that training as well. I mean, our bespoke training, we've talked here, we've given you a bit of an overview and an oversight of what really we are about and what we do with products and stuff, but this bespoke training just takes you into a wee different place. It goes very in depth, where we go into sensory processing. It also goes into very in depth where we go in to look at autism, ADHD, additional needs. So it is very intense training.
Yeah,
and it's important.
You give a real insight into real life experiences from your experiences as
Yeah,
well.
from my own point of view, I mean, someone with a diagnosis of ASD, I have 3 children who have ASD, and I've really been on this journey now for about 18 years, and I finally, I found the right place for me, that to be able to show that to people and for to give that information as best that I can. We're always learning, and we all know that, and we know that every day, but you know what, it is fantastic to be just doing things, I guess, and helping grow.
But yeah, so even all the strategies and real life experiences that you give, and a lot of people have said that at the end of your training, that it's something different and something special. So if you do want any extra training, just feel free to look into that. So we've given you lots of ideas, and just a couple of things I'm just thinking just before we finish off. So your room, it can become a real imaginative space. So it could be like a jungle, or you could change it into like an igloo, or whatever you want to do. We've seen some really, really good inspiring rooms, but it's nice to give your room as well a name. So like the magic room, the refresh room, the butterfly room. I love them because it's all about you going into the room in one state and you're coming out another. And that's the whole point.
It is, and it's so much where it's taken away also what we talked about earlier about that sort of stigma put onto like it being a sensory room, and other kids then that maybe just, you know, wouldn't be availing of that or using of it, maybe would be then encouraged to come and use that room. So think about that when you're doing that.
Yeah,
It's careful that thinking is the plan ahead, I think.
yeah,
you know?
absolutely. That is a room
It
for
is.
everyone and can help everyone.
Without a
So
doubt.
hopefully we give you lots of ideas. Feel free to contact us anytime.
Yep.
And look out for our other videos, and hopefully you'll find them helpful. All the best. Bye.